Hello, Teresa Phelps Martin, and bringing you the energetic signature for December of 2021. And in that journey, I want to share with you that what this is the essence of the month. It is the undercurrent, it is the weather, it is the heavenly skies above shining upon us, illuminating the path. So when we tap into the energy that's available to us, it's not that we have an upper hand. It's not that we have some kind of divination tool. What it is presence. It's support. It's knowing we're not alone. It's helping us to shift our perspective and remember that we're part of something bigger. So, as always, I like to share what's coming up because December is kind of a big deal, but I want to be clear this month. We have the sun and the moon. The sun is how we breathe, okay? The sun is our lifeline, just like our breath. So if you think about where the sun is in the sky and it's winter time, we are in shorter days, longer nights. We are being asked to exhale more fully and slow down and go inward. So that's the breath. The moon is how we live. It is the energy that moves us. So I'm going to focus on those main things right now. The sun will be in Sagittarius until December, the first day of winter, the solstice, December 21st. And so until December 21st, right, that's 3 weeks, we will have this energy of beliefs and perspective and expanding our view, expanding our connection to the bigger picture, to really call on to our higher self and to call on that higher vantage point from our experiences, from that wisdom. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. I don't want to jump ahead, but Jupiter's in Aquarius and will, at the end of the month, move into Pisces. So that wisdom, that benevolence, that abundance, that gratitude, that appreciation, if you can really spend these next 3 weeks breathing life into all that you've received thus far, good times, bad times, all of it, but grounding into that truth, because all of our experiences inform our beliefs, and our beliefs inform the choices we make. And that's what's happening when the sun shifts into Capricorn. We persevere. The light comes forward again. The days start to get longer, and we have responsibility. And we trudge forward. December's the 12th month of the year. And it happens to be the last month of 2021. So how can you use these next 3 weeks under the breath of Sagittarius, the breath of wisdom, the breath of joy, the breath of abundance, of benevolence? Now, sometimes things expand that we don't want to expand, okay? But how can we allow that reverence so that we're grounding ourselves in the truth of our being and living from this place so that when we step into this grounded energy, this leadership, we can take that wisdom forward, okay? We can stand at the podium of life and stand brilliantly in our radiant truth and give it structure, right? And have a responsibility that we can then contain this abundance and really carry as that light starts to expand for us. We can feel the beginning of the inhale, that renewal, that starting again. So for me, I start my year with the solstice. I know popular world starts with January 1st, and I respect that and I celebrate that time as well. So that leaves that breath energy, that essence of our breath, really looking at like that energy of that closure. For those of you who do yoga, it's that time where we know it's coming to an end. Or really, I like to share when I'm getting a massage, and my masseuse finishes at the feet, you're like, oh man, are we really? I'm not ready for it to be done. But we exhale all the way out so that we can have that renewal again and we start a new cycle. So it's a big deal moving from Sagittarius to Capricorn. When we have the moon dances. The moon will travel through and a full cycle through the zodiacal signs. It'll go through all 12 signs in 1 month, right? So, and then a little extra. The moon starts the month in that waning, right? The moon is in that exhalation. It's at the end of the cycle. It's in that balsamic, that time for closure, that time to really respect what's gone, okay? What's happened before, and welcome in the light, right? To really make peace. And as we make peace with the divine details of our life, we can respect the cycle, that resilience, that renewal. So we start December with a balsamic moon in Scorpio. And then the moon will be a total solar eclipse on December 4th in Sagittarius. And that's when the sun and the moon are at the exact same point, to the minute, to the degree in the sky, where there's that great alignment, as if the life we live comes back to breathe life again, to have that inhale again. And so we live with that journey of the breath. We climb the inhale, it rises. We get to the top of the inhale, which will be the full moon. And the full moon will be in Gemini at 27 degrees on December 18th. Okay, I said 27 degrees. This is for those of you who know how to look at your chart, and you can look at where is this landing in your own soul's promise. And the degrees matter because they create the transits and the transitions and the angles, whether they're a square or a triangle or some reflection. It's a sacred geometry that animates a conversation inside of ourselves and with the world around us. So the moon has these same aspects, and a new moon is a conjunction, and a full moon is an opposition, where it's as far away. When the moon is full, it's as far away from the sun as possible. So when the sun is in Sagittarius, that opposing point is Gemini. And so you look at that axis of energy of where have we traveled, what have we explored, and what are the messages, what's the curiosity that took us there. And there's a lot of significance to this moon. This new moon in Sag and the full moon in Gemini is because we're really wrapping up a long cycle, a 20-year cycle, 19-year cycle. That's closure. So we are in this period of closure, okay? Just closure. And so the moon will have its first quarter, which is a square, which is 90 degrees. It's where we hit the challenge. So the new moon in Sag, I would encourage you to really invoke and open yourselves, like sit in the darkness of the night and know that in that void, so much is possible. Because for me, Sagittarian energy is that potentiality that we contain, that we discover through our relationships and through our experiences, that anything's possible. Okay. So that you open yourself up to that possibility, and you can look at what it is that really isn't serving you. What is it of old patterns that you're ready to release so that you can renew? The first quarter moon, that challenge is December 10th 2021. It's 11 degrees Pisces. This will hit with this beautiful goddess named Athena, Pallas Athena. And she is that, strategic one. She is the woman who will go out. She is the daughter. She is the good girl who conquers and does all the right things and shows up and wins. So when we get to that first quarter moon in Pisces, and I encourage you to invoke that feminine energy of your sense of accomplishment. Just this year, what's been going on? What have you been giving birth to? So there's an interest for me that the first quarter moon, as we're in these cycles of closure, happens to be in Pisces, which is the 12th sign of the zodiac. That is the soul. It is the mystical. And it's sitting with the goddess Athena, who she will not be backed. She will not be taken down. She sees patterns. She sees strategy. She is a warrior. She is a fighter. She shows up. But she's showing up in this energy right now for all of us, in this energy of transmutation, okay, of really shifting. Like, how can she be her radiant and feminine self and recognize her resilience and her ability to renew and her ability to slow down, her ability to lean into the energy of one another and call forward the energy of her mother and her sister and her daughter. These are the archetypes of the goddess, to really respect that sacred flame. And then that full moon will happen, and beautifully and wonderfully, I don't have that chart yet, so I can't get to there. So you'll have to tune in later in December with that full moon energy. And the last quarter moon happens in Libra on December 26th. So we finish the month out with these hits of the moon of how are we living, with how are we communicating, what are the stories we're telling, how are we showing up, how are we doing our light justice, because we're going to start, like, we're closing out the year on a closing aspect. There'll be a new moon in the beginning of January, and it'll be in Capricorn. So we're closing the year out with really like this idea of justice, of harmony, of not so much about being people pleasing, but watching your tendency to undermine your needs, because that's not being centered. You have to have boundaries and respect yourself and give space for others. Okay, so that's the dance of the sun and the moon this month. So what we have is this essence of leading with our light, leading from a higher vantage point, living from this gratitude and appreciation, and really recognizing our strength, our perseverance, and connecting to the entirety. When we're at this time of the year, we're in the part of the horoscope, right? This is the horoscope, by the way, the circle. It is what you read, because that's what we call it. But it's really this is the zodiacal signs and where the planets land, or it's the horoscope. It's how we tell time from the sky, because for a long time there was no such thing as a clock. And so they mapped the skies to understand. They looked at the sun and the dance with the moon of how to understand how to work with the earth, right? So this is going back to Mesopotamian times, where they really respected the mother, and there was so much peace on the planet. So we're in this part of that horoscope that is the collective. It is the bigger. It's like, how do you want to be remembered? What choices are you making? What legacy do you want to leave behind? You're responsible for it. And how do you want to be remembered by generations ahead of you? You know, that to which is yet to be. And in that sort of place, how are you serving your soul? Because this is soulfully you. How are you serving your soul? And there's a lot of energy there. Okay. So I'm going to go now in chronicle order of the month. We're going to start the beginning of December with this shift, this clarity. Neptune, which is our dreams. It's a planet you cannot see with the naked eye. So it represents the divine, it represents the esoteric, it represents our angels, the unseen worlds and influences, the energy, those emotions, that deep sense of compassion and surrender. And so it's like we can start to move forward with our dreams again. But remember, I shared that we're at a close, so much closure right now, so many endings. So you want to give space and regard for the dreams that didn't come true, right? I have them. I know you have them. So give yourself room to understand that maybe you're coming out of the fog. That fog really isn't going to lift because Neptune takes a long time to move around. I think I'm not even going to say it, but I'm pretty sure like 164 years to go 360 degrees. That's a long time. You won't see it in your lifetime, right? And it's a generational thing. So it's really in this place like the collective can start to clear. It goes retrograde for about 5 months every year, okay? But it's in Pisces. And that's a big deal because Jupiter at the end of the month will move into Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces in the modern day. Jupiter rules Pisces in a traditional. Jupiter also rules Sagittarius. And there's a really, one day I'll share with you this really interesting understanding. It is so scientific and mathematic how this all comes together. It is mind blowing. But for a long time, they didn't know Neptune existed because you couldn't see it, right? When Neptune was discovered, we had photography. So this Piscean energy of photography, of art, of reflection, of mirrors is very Piscean, very Neptunian. But we also have Jupiter, the dreams, the wisdom, the benevolence. They haven't been together in the same sign since over a century. My friend Lola looked it up, and I think it's like 1856. We don't know it in this lifetime, but if you can think about, life in the 1800s, radically different. Radically different. There was no Facebook that transmitted or YouTube that transmitted or a computer that could look up the planetary movements. That's so consistent. It was a very different, very, very different time. So we get to live in this time. It's a big deal that we get to experience it and discover it together as the collective. Okay. So that's how the month starts. It also starts with this total solar eclipse in Sagittarius. And the South Node has been in Sagittarius for the past 2 years. I'm really not good at the timing of the nodes, but I think 2.5 years. So we have a big shift. We've had to change our beliefs and let go of old ideas and old ways. It's been a little relentless, if you will. And so we have that final eclipse in that energy at 12 degrees Sagittarius. And that's going to be in a really subtle aspect with Uranus and an uncomfortable, well, no, in a supportive aspect with Saturn. So just realize these subtleties and these shifts that are happening. We're gently being nudged, and I know it feels intense, but in that intensity, it's grace filled. It's grace filled. The divine is with us, and that's kind of that idea for me that we have this big plant that rules the collective, Neptune, because it's a generational thing. My children were born with Neptune in Pisces, and my oldest is 7 and my daughter is 5. My Neptune is Sagittarius. So it's a generational thing. And that energy, so is Uranus, and it's in Taurus, and it is just breaking us down in so many ways, which is going to bring me to the next big event, which is Mercury will be in Sagittarius, and then it moves into Capricorn on December 13th. So you might find yourself witty, charming, chatty, just talking big talk, not really grounded and anchored. So realize that and just bite your tongue if you need to. Really, is it necessary? And when Mercury moves into Capricorn, our words will hold a lot of wisdom. They will ground. We really get to reacclimate the vernacular of our new reality. Maybe that's a bunch of fluff or Sagittarian charm. But I do believe that. And then Venus, this is a big deal. Venus is in Capricorn. She means business. She really wants you to ground and persevere with your values. Live them. Like what matters to you? What are your priorities? How are you taking responsibility for those priorities? How can your values be part of your legacy? She will be conjunct Pluto. What day is that? On December 11th. And when she is conjunct to Pluto, we have this big hit, which traditionally they would tell you would have something to do with like exposing sexual assault or sexual abuse. Bleh. I feel differently. I feel that we've been in this journey of reclaiming the truth of the feminine, right? Not just the Athena version that can break glass ceilings, that part is there. Absolutely. We're really understanding the value of the mother, the daughter, the sister, the friend, and the mother, the daughter, the sister, the friend. Ooh, you know what? I need to look at the grandmother. The grandmother is so important. I'm going to have to sit with that. Maybe the grandmother is the moon. Sorry for that tangent. But it's really the Venus is kind of like the token female. So she means business. And when she hits up with Pluto, who rules the underworld, who rules the dark sky, who is about power, death, and renewal, there is to me this like this energy of all this breaking down we've experienced of structures and how we place our responsibility. There's this kind of like we need to reprioritize the feminine. So we're no longer reimagining her. This is the hit of let's begin to re-embody now. Then we get to reflect because Venus is going to go retrograde, right? And when she goes retrograde, guess what? She's going to be conjunct. She goes retrograde on December 19th. And when she goes retrograde, then she's going to go back over and hang out with Pluto again. So we'll get this second hit. This is what happens every retrograde when a planet goes retrograde. It happens for each and all. And she's going to be retrograde for a while. She won't be clear of this whole journey through Capricorn until the end of March. So I want you to tune in to what's showing up for you in your life and for the world on December 11th. And then we have that other conjunction on December 25th. So I really call forward that birth of the feminine because on December 25th, we have that major holiday, Christmas, where we celebrate the birth of Christ, a great teacher who taught us how to love, to be compassionate, to be a humanitarian, to not judge and dismiss, but to welcome and include and be of service. Such a wise teacher. And came from his great mother, the Virgin Mary, and his great companion, Mary Magdalene, who was viewed and misinterpreted for many, many years. It's not until recently have we relearned her truth and how much she shared the wisdom and held the utmost trust by this benevolent being Christ. So just planting a seed of awareness and the encouragement of consideration. However, this is a contemplation I've had for many years. So no, it's not some kind of radical popular thing right now. It's very a big thing. So pay attention to those dates, will you? So Mars, our sweet Mars, these are the personal planets. Mars is in Scorpio, and it's had quite a punch. It's been activating a lot of transits, and it's kind of like cleaning up the mess. To give you a little I don't want to get too much into news stories, but Mars has a heavy hitter, and I really believe that part of this journey of Venus being in retrograde, her and Mars will meet up in Capricorn together. It's in January. It'll be at 25 degrees, 25 degrees Capricorn, which is where Pluto is now. So see, there's a method to all of this, you all. It is so scientific. It's kind of unbelievable. But until you start to study it, and then it's hard not to believe. So, anyhow, I welcome that shift in your perspective because Mars is kind of like, he's usually viewed as, the god of war. I don't see Mars that way. I see Mars as the masculine energy, it's the chivalry. It's how do we own that part of us who can get up and get motivated and be ambitious to ignite that fire to live, to fight for love and light, right? Not to attack and take down, but it's like the idea of rather than curse the darkness, praise the light. Like raise your hands up, since I was just talking about Jesus, raise your hands up and celebrate and give victory and renewal. And in that, loves being in Scorpio, by the way. It is where it's why it's usually associated with sexual energy, passion. But how can you be in passion? How can you be with compassion, with passion, which would be compassion, right? The Jaya Jaya Karuna Be Sri Mahadeva Shambho is this mantra that I was given, this chant, which is you celebrate the victorious one who, in the playfulness, can dance through the compassionate waters. To me, that is Mars. It is the Rudra. It is the ability to feel into the beat of life and give life. Can you tell I kind of feel a little differently? But in that, it's in the cremation grounds right now. Mars is in the cremation grounds. It is in the deep, deep waters of really invoking and that creativity, that ability to recognize that we're sharing this vulnerability together. And in that, we can come forward with a new sense of energy. And Mars will move into Sagittarius. When will that be? On December 13th, the same day. I believe it moves into Sagittarius in the morning, and Mercury moves into Capricorn. So you can pay attention, just like put a circle around December 13th and just notice if you notice a shift in yourself. That's what this is all about, is it's giving you the boundaries to understand your energetic essence, the signature of you, what are you showing up for and with. Okay. And so that's really this big journey. The goddesses, we have Ceres, who is the grain that feeds us, the mother. She is the feminine archetype, that is the mother that nourishes, that feeds us, that tends to the earth, tends to the soil, tends to the foundation, the home, the body, and cares so deeply for her children. And she's been in Gemini talking to us, and she's been traveling alongside the nodes of fate, the North Node, which is part of the reason why I really feel strongly that we're being asked to listen to the language of the Divine Mother, to remember her and rebirth her. She goes into Taurus, right? So she's been in this communicating, giving us messages, talking to us, and she moves into Taurus on December 21st. So she's there with us into this big shift of earth energy when the sun shifts. She's in retrograde. So realize that she's kind of going backwards, like, okay, you all, can we please give to our earth? Can we respect our this land in which we can recognize that it's sacred? It is the foundation for our experience of life. It is the material world. So what do you do with your materials? Exhaust them, or can you recognize them as sacred? To me, all the goddesses are sacred. And then we have Pallas Athena, which I already mentioned. She is traveling through Pisces. And then we have Juno, who is the domestic goddess. She is the wife. They're all the domestic goddesses, right? But she is the wife. She is the one who will show up with commitment. And she's in Capricorn, and so she is persevering. The commitment to our truth, to our soul, to our light, to our humanity, to the unborn children, to those that we have partnered with, to our relationships, to the wisdom that keeps coming through, to our legacy. And Vesta, she is the one, we have the daughter. Okay, sorry, I'm confused. Vesta is, she isn't always talked about in the archetypal language. She is the virgin. She is the sacred flame. She is that energy within your heart that renews. Because without that flare, that spark of your divinity, that divine spark, without tapping into it and bathing in her light and being in that erotic intimacy of yourself, what you got? Nothing. Okay. So Vesta, she is hanging out in Sagittarius. She is with, she's really traveling. She's been really important in my life of lately. And she's speaking to me at volumes because it's part of the misinterpretation and understanding of the sacred feminine energy, and how we need both the man and the woman. We need the masculine and the feminine in order for life to be created. And it has to be that conjunction, that moment where they come together in alignment in order for life to carry forward, right? So that conjunction, that conception is essential for the continuation of humanity. She's in Sagittarius, so she's kind of in this journey of, she's with the moon and the sun in Sagittarius for this new moon, this eclipse, and she's hitting these points of really been strong with the nodes of fate, of really asking us to reclaim and remember, and to remember that higher expression of the feminine and the masculine, right? And how can we realize it's not a hierarchy? We need the patriarch, but we also need the matriarch, right? We need that energy, and we need them to work together, just like we need the sun and the moon, this day and the night. And Vesta is really feeling the fever. Jupiter and Saturn are in Aquarius, so they keep that they are occupying Aquarius right now. So remember in December, that sounds like a song. Remember in December, the Star of Bethlehem last year, it happened on the solstice. Talk about profound and beautiful energy of that renewal and remembrance of the light that's being born. That happened at 0 degrees Aquarius and started a really new energy and a new cycle. And in that, they're both in Aquarius. Jupiter is restructuring. I'm sorry. Saturn is structure, responsibilities, governing energies, and we're in rebuilding. Jupiter has traveled through Aquarius. It's sped through it and danced into Pisces, and it's come back into Aquarius. And then at the end of the month, it'll move into Pisces. So Jupiter is in this land of really helping expand our vision for humanity. And I think we all get news of things happening all over the world right now. And so that compassion for the bigger picture is my hope and intention when Jupiter moves into Pisces. And then we have Uranus will go direct in January. So our energetic signature this month is really about that shift in perspective. It is about that ability to awaken to a higher vantage point, to really awaken to that higher expression within yourself. But I want to clarify for a moment, if you're living soulfully, you are living in. This is a practice of embodiment and not transcendence. So to really shift the perspective of how you look inward at yourself, right? And how can you love that inner version of you? How can you not so much be unapologetic, but authentically aligned? Because you want to give room and permission for others to have their beliefs, to have their truth. And we're not going to all agree. We're not going to all live in peace and harmony because we live in Earth School. Earth School is hard, and our soul is here to grow. So we go inward and we really allow ourselves to see ourselves from a different vantage point. Sometimes we do have to step outside of ourselves. We talk to one another, we make the connection, we feel the camaraderie, but we also see that compassion inwardly as well. So this energy is our essence. And it's primarily, yes, I know I talked about Sagittarius a lot, but this is a very earth energy and closure. Put ritual around it. Grieve what you need to grieve, the dreams that didn't come true. Know that you can feel into the depths because there's room to feel now. And that you can really create the container of connect to the boundaries that allow you to persevere, not to dominate, not to push everybody else down, but to embrace your resilient nature. That you fluctuate, that you dance, so that we have fire, but we have a lot of earth energy this month. So just grounding into the closure so we can begin again and we can begin renewed. It's when you're in that closing cycles, you really want to hold space for what's gone before and allow yourself permission to reframe and change. Not change, because change can really freak people out, especially right now, but to recognize that there's a new story being born. We just don't know exactly what it is yet. So I thank you. I adore you for listening. If you stayed with me this whole time, and that you continue to be real, that you continue to be true, and that you continue to be soulfully you. You can find me at teresaphelpsmartin.com and the Facebook group Soulfully You, YouTube, and the Soul Scopes will come out with the new moon on December 4th and the full moon on December, what did I say it was? 18th. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.